Devastation.
Here's the latest from ABC News. I'm Larry Jacobs. The White House weighing in on the devastation caused by Typhoon Haiyan in the Philippines. The President and Mrs. Obama say they're deeply saddened by the deaths and damage. It's believed as many as 10,000 people died in one town alone.
We are addressing first the needs of those who are still living, especially those who are injured, the need for food and the need for water.
Philippine President Benigno Aquino, the U.S. is assisting in relief efforts. ABC's Matt McGarry's in Manila.
The U.S. Marines are flying into the Philippines to help that nation recover from devastation caused by Typhoon Haiyan. And they're bringing with them some much-needed, specialized equipment. The Marines, based in nearby Okinawa, will provide large cargo aircraft as well as several Ospreys. The Osprey has a tilting rotor, allowing it to land like a helicopter, yet fly like a plane, ideal for search and rescue missions in hard-to-reach places. Matt McGarry, ABC News, Manila.
About 4 million people affected one way or another, hundreds of thousands left homeless. Sounded like there'd be a deal in Geneva involving Iran's nuclear program. Seemed. ABC's chief foreign correspondent, Terry Moran.
As Secretary Kerry concluded marathon talks directly with Iranian officials, unprecedented, really, the French stepped in and said this proposal wasn't tough enough. They wanted more restrictions on Iran's ability to enrich uranium, control of a new reactor that might produce plutonium, and they called a halt to it.
There was a party in Houston for an 18-year-old girl last night. 100 people showed up, and while police say there was not a lot of booze, no narcotics, there was gunfire.
100 people, a small home with bullets flying, bad combination.
Harris County Sheriff Adrian Garcia, 2 dead, at least 19 wounded, 2 gunmen being sought. A new study says exercising while pregnant, good for the fetus's brain development. This out of the University of Montreal. This is ABC News.
Homeowners, there's never been a more affordable time to help protect your home and loved ones. You can now get a $100 Visa card from Protect Your Home, your authorized ADT dealer, with the installation of a new ADT monitored system. Call Protect Your Home today at 1-888-213-2244. That's 1-888-213-2244. License number CAACO 6320, FLAC 133427, EC 130034001, KY City of Louisville 483, TN C1520, TXB 13734, ACR 3492. 36-month monitoring contract required. General terms and conditions apply. Visit protectyourhome.com/terms.
Trying to sell your old car? Instead, donate your vehicle to Heritage for the Blind. Pickup is free and your donation is tax deductible. Just call 1-800-953-4036. Heritage for the Blind accepts cars, vans, trucks, and boats, whether they run or not. Call right now and receive a free 3-day vacation voucher to over 50 locations. Call 1-800-953-4036. Donate your car today. That's 1-800-953-4036.
It happened last night at the Wildcat Haven in the suburban Portland, Oregon community of Sherwood. One of the women workers, a 35-year-old, was attacked and killed by a wildcat. Here's ABC's Rena Nina.
First responders arrived on scene after 7 p.m. The Haven already pitch black.
Talking to the other officers who were on scene and the medical responders too, it's dark. This is a pretty remote area here.
So remote that emergency vehicles have trouble accessing the area and not knowing where the other cats might be. Rescuers were too afraid to head into the area on foot.
So yeah, they were pretty concerned walking in there. They told me that it was risky.
Rescue crews didn't make it to the caretaker in time.
Wildcat Haven is considered a last hope refuge for more than 60 wildcats that have been abandoned or abused. So many Chinese students are coming to the U.S. for higher education that the number of international students studying in America has now hit a record level. Also, an all-time high number of American students are studying abroad. Larry Jacobs, ABC News.
Mike Huckabee.
It was a rare moment in the 5 years that he's been president, a rare moment in the 10 years or so that he's been in the public eye. This is not a guy that goes around saying, I messed up. It's always somebody else's fault. It's usually the Republicans.
Noon till 3.
Now, how much we're going to see in terms of is he sorry enough to make changes in the disastrous Obamacare bill, I don't know. I don't know if he's that sorry.
570 AM, 96.3 FM, HD2, KLIF. It's the Scott Murray Show, where we can share the importance of charitable leadership and being a difference maker. Let's get started giving back with our host, Scott Murray.
Hello again, everybody. 7:05 on your Sunday night. Great to have you along for hour number 2 as we continue till 8 o'clock tonight here on 570 KLIF. And something a little different this hour is we'll share with you a little something about what's going on in the world of, let me put it this way. Do you recall some time ago we did a little something called Life Strategies, and we had several women here on board, from psychologists to trainers to leadership skills and all kinds of good things. Well, Angel Carlton happened to be one of those young ladies, and she is now going to step in here and kind of maneuver this train here during the course of this hour with a segment we call Nowhere to Knowing. And she's going to talk about brain training and some other exciting things. So, hello, Angel. Tell us what we've got going on tonight.
Oh, we have a really intriguing hour ahead of us, Scott. As you know, this segment is titled Nowhere to Knowing, and its mere purpose is to help people better their lives and bring an awareness of ways to live up to our full potential. So tonight, we're going to explore the control center of our lives, which is our brains. And if you're like me and you start to notice your memory slipping and maybe you're not thinking as sharp as you once did, then this is going to be good news for you, because in a few moments we're going to be talking to Dr. Joe Hardy, who's the Vice President of Brain Research and Development at Lumos Labs, the creators of Lumosity Brain Training Program. And he's going to be talking to us about neuroplasticity. I like saying that word.
Easy.
Easy for me to say, right? It's just a fun word to say, neuroplasticity.
All right, good. And what's the, you said you had two parts coming up tonight. What's the second part?
Yeah, the second half of the show, we have a special guest who's going to speak about the amazing health benefits of salt therapy.
Salt therapy?
Salt therapy. Yeah, I guess it's kind of like being near the ocean. Very therapeutic. Don't you find the ocean therapeutic?
Anything to do with water, I find therapeutic. So I love my favorite place to be in the world is my lake house. Love water.
Nice. Very nice. Yeah, I'm right there with you. You know, I could see a lot of health benefits to that, and especially at the ocean, the salt air. But supposedly, the mineral content of the Dead Sea is very different from ocean water. And the Dead Sea has actually become a major center for health and resources and treatment centers and spas and healing centers and that sort of thing. People have actually flown across the world to immerse themselves into these healing waters. And with us tonight, we have someone who has actually brought the Dead Sea to Plano, Texas. So that's really cool. We're going to be talking to Jim Rizzuto, who's going to share with us how salt therapy has helped people overcome respiratory issues such as allergies and asthma and some really serious skin conditions as well.
Sounds good. Well, I tell you what, I'm going to step aside and you go for it. I'm interested to hear about all this brain stuff.
Okay, cool. Well, first, let's open our minds as we engage in this fascinating topic of brain development and explore the latest research on how we can improve our lives by improving our brains. So let's get started. Here with us tonight, we have Dr. Joe Hardy, as I mentioned, the Vice President of Research and Development of Lumos Labs, also known as the popular online brain training program, Lumosity. This is also the leading neuroscience company. And Dr. Joe Hardy works with an international team of researchers to uncover secrets of cognitive enhancement and build cognitive training experiences based on the science of neuroplasticity. He has over 8 years of research and development experience in the field of cognitive training. Dr. Hardy received his PhD from the University of California, Berkeley, performed his postdoctoral research fellowship at University of California, the Davis Medical Center, and has an MBA from the Haas School of Business at Berkeley. Whew. Those are some impressive credentials, and an honor to have you on our show tonight. Hello, Dr. Hardy.
Hi, good to be here.
Well, thanks. I understand you're at a conference in San Diego, so thank you
Yes.
for taking your time to be on the show. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's great. You're just talking about salt therapy in the water, and we're actually looking out at the water right now as we speak.
Oh, nice.
It's a beautiful sunset here in San Diego.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for sharing that visual with us.
All right, thanks for coming.
You know, I read recently in Yahoo News that Lumosity has grown 200% year over year since its inception only 6 years ago.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a rocket ship, actually, this experience of working with Lumosity. I think we tapped into something that people are very interested in terms of being able to improve their cognitive performance and cognitive abilities and just generally, work out their brains the same way that they work out their bodies.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I've certainly taken an interest, along with 50 million other members on your website there. That's a lot of brains you're impacting, so you must be doing something right. Congratulations on that.
All right, thank you.
So, well, I am a huge fan of this Lumosity brain training program. I really am. I train every day. I have my iPhone app, and along with 10 million other people who have downloaded this app, I play those cool little games and puzzles, and they really do challenge my brain. And what is so cool is I'm able to track the results. I can see the results. I can see the improvement. I even got my 16-year-old son hooked on it, too.
That's great.
So,
That's great.
So, well, let's talk about the reasons for your success and what you are doing to help so many people. Your bio mentioned how your research helps uncover the secrets of cognitive enhancement based on the science of neuroplasticity. Dr. Hardy, explain for us, please, what is neuroplasticity?
Sure, yeah. Basically, a few years ago, people, just even when I was a graduate student, in 2002, we were taught that the brain was effectively static after an early period of development. So, we all know that as children that the brain is developing and changing. But as it turns out that kind of change and development doesn't stop when you're, when you get out of childhood. Actually, it's possible to enhance the way that your brain works to perform better, think faster, have better memory, pay attention better, if you give the brain the right kinds of challenges. So this idea that the brain can adapt and change in response to challenge is the idea of neuroplasticity.
Wow, that's fascinating. And it makes perfect sense. I mean, I've heard some people use that expression when they've forgotten something or misplaced something. Oh, I'm having a senior moment. And, as society, we have just adapted to the idea that this is normal and our brains are to deteriorate as we age. But that's not necessarily true.
That's right. Yeah. In general, we see that people, this sort of slowing that happens in terms of cognitive function starts remarkably early, actually. So people as early as 20 years old are starting to see their speed of processing go down. Pretty much from 20 on, you're not going to get much faster unless you do something proactively to improve your brain performance.
Oh my God!
So the cognitive aging actually happens from a very early age on, and the great news is that while there is this process going on in terms of aging, there are things that you can do to help yourself be more productive, have better memory, pay attention better, these sorts of things. And one of those things that you can do is cognitive training. Certainly, that's what we're here for. But there are other things that you can do as well. It's not just Lumosity, but there are the science of neuroplasticity is advancing very rapidly. So even today at this conference that I'm at, the Society for Neurosciences conference, which is the world's largest conference of neuroscientists, we saw lots and lots of presentations about ways to improve your brain, make your brain more plastic as you get older. And some of these things include, physical exercise. So just the same way that working out, getting your heart rate up, helps your body, it also helps your brain. Your brain is part of your body, and so physical exercise is important as well. Social connections are important. We now know that people who have several good relationships in their lives tend to age better in terms of the way their brains work. The diet is important as well. Eating foods that are high in omega-3 fatty acids, high in antioxidants, things like vegetables and food like that are also important. So all the same things that you need to do for your body, you need to think about that in terms of your brain as well. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to provide a gym for your brain.
Wow, that's fantastic, and it certainly is doing the trick. That's for sure. So we're going to take a short break right now. That is awesome stuff. I want to hear more about ways we can improve our brains and how it all works. So I'm Angel Carlton. I'm here with Scott Murray. Stay right on here on 570 KLIF.
Calling outside sales professionals looking for an opportunity to advance your career. ESPN Radio is looking for an outside sales professional to join our outstanding sales team. We provide the best training in the industry, unlimited income potential, and a chance to help local businesses really grow. If you have 3 or more years of outside sales experience, a burning desire to succeed, and possess a proven record of success, we want to hear from you. Send your resume to richard.lane@cumulus.com. That's richard.lane@cumulus.com. ESPN Radio is an equal opportunity employer, male-female.
Hey, let's face it, we have become a video world. From email to YouTube to live streaming presentations. How about you? Ever find yourself in the need for audio or maybe video services? Maybe staging for a live production or special event? Whether it's indoors or out, large or small, audio or video, Murray Media can get the job done. Professionally, efficiently, competitively. From creation to conclusion, the Emmy Award-winning team at Murray Media is prepared and poised to video your world. From corporate and industrial videos to nonprofit videos and special events, even those with well-known celebrities, television programs, TV commercials, website videos for both professional and personal use. Simply visit our website, murraymedia.net. Again, that's murraymedia.net. We look forward to talking with you at Murray Media, always poised to video your world.
You may not think of your business as a cow, but you should. In the Old West, cattle were branded so everybody knew whose cow belonged to whom. If you're a business owner or in charge of marketing, and if your company hasn't been branded into the minds of consumers, you can round up your business and increase your sales by attending a 1-hour free branding seminar November 13th. You'll learn the 4 keys of branding, how to use trigger events to drive business, and how to market your business. And you'll even get a free lunch. To save your spot at this free 1-hour branding seminar, call 214-523-2760. That's 214-523-2760.
The Scott Murray Show continues on News and Information 570 KLIF. Get involved in the conversation. Call 888-787-KLIF.
Welcome back. I'm Angel Carlton here with Scott Murray. Before we took the break, we were talking about neuroplasticity and how to improve the functionality of our brains. We're talking to Dr. Joe Hardy, the VP of Research and Development at Lumosity. And Scott, doesn't it seem like today we depend so much on GPS, our smartphones, calculators, rather than depending on our brains? I mean, these smartphones seem like they're making us stupid. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, that's a good point. I understand exactly what you're saying. Dr. Hardy, I think, has some great points. And you talk about aging. That's the one thing that fascinated me. You know, my parents had gotten a little older, and you worry about things like Alzheimer's and dementia and anything. It just people say, well, that's what happens when you get older. And yet there are ways to really kind of protect yourselves from those things happening a little prematurely. And yet 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, now we're seeing signs of people doing some of those things. So all of this that deals with the brain. Somebody told me the other day, it'll be interesting, you ought to ask Dr. Hardy his thoughts on this. Somebody told me if multitasking was good or bad for you. And I said, oh, it's great because it allows you to really keep your mind. And they said, no, it really isn't. It's not a good thing to multitask. And I was just totally blown away from that. So maybe if you got some time tonight, you might ask Dr. Hardy. Are you there, Dr. Hardy?
Yes.
Well, I'm going to get my question in here, and I'll step aside, and then Angel can jump back on board. But we were talking about multitasking the other day, just a group of us, and somebody said, Scott, you're the ultimate multitasker. That's a great challenge for your brain. You're going to keep it fresh. And I said, wait a minute. It's not like a crossword puzzle. And they said, no, that's not the best thing for your brain to multitask. Yes, no, good, bad. What are your thoughts on that?
Sure. Yeah. Multitasking is an interesting topic because basically, we all do this from time to time. We have different activities that we're engaging with at the same time. Maybe we even have multiple screens. We're watching television and we're working on our computer or a smartphone, what have you. And in general, what the research shows is that your performance at any given task is going to be degraded if you multitask. So in other words, let's say you're trying to do two things at once. You're trying to talk on the phone and you're trying to drive, for example. Your ability to do both of those things, the driving and the talking on the phone, both are going to be degraded by doing them together. So that, in that sense, multitasking is bad. So we know, for example, that texting and driving is really, really dangerous and something you should definitely avoid. And at the same time, it is true that challenging your brain in different ways can be beneficial. So, what's the balance there? And I guess the story is, multitasking in the context of an exercise may be beneficial in terms of just working out your brain, but in terms of actually performing the tasks of daily living that you want to do every day, it's probably not good in the sense that if you spend, say, 30 minutes writing emails and 30 minutes talking on the phone, if you do those, one after the other, you're actually going to get more of each done than if you try to spend an hour doing both together.
Right. Well, you know what? And speaking of performance, I read something that really resonated with me. It said, the better brain wins. And it makes total sense. I mean, this is huge. Not just performance at work or anything, but for athletes who compete. I mean, it's not just about the physical abilities and physically what we're doing, but it's more about the mental capacity. I mean, is this because the better brain can focus on something longer, or how does brain training help people perform better?
Sure. Yeah. Basically, imagine if you're a quarterback, for example, and on a football team, you have to first of all think about the strategy of the game. You have to think about planning out where how you're going to move your team down the field. Then once the play is started, once the ball is snapped, you have to visualize all the different players on both teams, 22 different players, and understand where they all are and what they're doing, and then make a decision and react quickly to make a pass or run the ball. And basically all of that kind of activity is highly demanding on cognitive function, speed of processing, your ability to distribute your attention across the field, your ability to remember where all of your receivers are going to be going. All of these things are highly demanding on cognitive capacities. And each of these capacities, speed, memory, and attention, can be improved with targeted, intensive adaptive training.
Wow. Well, it makes sense. It makes sense. And my son, who is an athlete, he's had a couple of concussions, and I have myself too. I know we're like the concussion family, but it's what's sad is we've noticed his comprehension has declined, and I seem to struggle a little bit with memory recall, and so I think these are normal things. As far as performance, how can neuroplasticity help someone who's had a brain injury and get back to that place of higher performance?
Sure. Yeah. It's a very new field, this understanding about the kind of damage that can happen with concussions, particularly if you have multiple concussions over time. And we're learning more and more about this every day. And certainly at this conference that we're here, we're at here in San Diego, people are talking about this issue as well. And what we're finding is that the kind of trauma that happens when you have multiple concussions, especially in short periods of time, so close together in time, can really cause a lot of damage that is relatively long-lasting. So certainly we now see NFL football players, for example, who are retired, who have this chronic traumatic encephalopathy. That's a very extreme situation, but in general, that kind of damage to the brain can be highly detrimental and long-lasting. We don't know exactly how much function is recoverable from that in terms of doing cognitive training, but it certainly makes sense that if your abilities are somewhat diminished by these experiences, that doing some training could possibly help in terms of improving and getting back some of that function.
Well, I have noticed, even just doing the brain training on Lumosity, that my memory recall is getting a little bit better. And so I'm feeling like it's helping. And over time, I believe I'm pretty optimistic. So tell us, what does a typical brain fitness plan look like? And how often should a person train their brain?
That's a great question. So we have, as part of Lumosity, we have a personalization aspect of the program. So we ask questions about what your goals are. Fundamentally, this is what it comes down to in any training program, physical or mental, is tailoring that training to your goals. That's the key. What you personally want to get out of it. For me, I had always really struggled with remembering names and connecting those names to faces. This is something that for me was always something that I struggle with, and it caused me. It was professionally it's a problem, and personally it's a problem. So I focused on that particular goal intensively in my training, and the kinds of things that I did to improve that were games that were oriented towards memory specifically. So being able to improve my memory span, being able to improve the amount of information that I can hold in my mind at once, and also, even explicitly training the association of names and faces. So that we have a game called Familiar Faces that just trains that basic ability to remember people's names, once you've seen them and once you've interacted with them.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. That's
yeah.
awesome.
So that's basically the idea. Is trying to target whatever your goals are, trying to target the training to those goals. And in terms of how much training to do, we know that more is better. We definitely, one of the presentations that we gave today at the conference involved this very issue. So we see a very clear relationship. The more you train, the more you gain. And, that's certainly true. Well, what you want to do is set it up in such a way that fits in with your lifestyle. It's all about building a habit, just the same way that working out, going to the gym is a habit. You need to do the things that are enjoyable enough to you and fit into your lifestyle well enough that you will do them consistently over time. So we recommend, as a starting point, doing 15 to 20 minutes of training, 3 to 5 times a week. And I think that's a great place to start. I personally do it when I'm in the office and during the day. And I try to do it each weekday. I don't always do it every single weekday, but I average about 4 days a week. So that somewhere on that order is what I think is a good place where you can it's reasonable. It's something that you can expect to be able to do over time and helps you form a habit.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a good starting point, definitely. And I know Lumosity.com, the online training program, is an awesome solution. But what about people who do not have access to technology or maybe don't have their smartphones? I heard things like, well, if you use your left hand while you brush your teeth and you're right-handed, that can help trick the brain in doing those things. Do you have any tips like that?
Sure, absolutely. I mentioned previously that physical exercise is really important for the brain. So that's I can say that definitively at this point. Beyond that, there are other things that you can do that are great. Learning to play a musical instrument is something that is extremely cognitively demanding and is great for neuroplasticity. So for me personally, I never learned to play any instruments when I was growing up. And so now I'm trying to learn how to play the guitar, and that's my challenge to myself. And that kind of thing is great. Learning a foreign language, and actually putting yourself in a position where you need to do things that you don't do every day. So traveling is a great exercise for your brain in terms of neuroplasticity. So traveling to a foreign country where they speak a different language, and forcing yourself to comprehend that information that's coming through you and then actually try to respond to that. Those are great ways to improve your brain. I also mentioned previously the idea of social engagement. We now believe that having close connections with people and communicating with them, talking to them, is something that's very good for your brain health as you get older. So those are all things that are practical things that you can do, you can kind of work into your life.
Oh, I would totally agree with that. That is so important to have those positive relationships and that challenge you as well. So that's
Absolutely.
huge. That's huge. So what about children? You mentioned earlier about those brains that are still developing. Can helping them train their brain, like playing with certain toys that supposedly stimulate their brains, can their little brains somehow develop in a way where it has a greater impact, where there's less deterioration at the age of 20, impact their adult brain?
Absolutely, yes. We
Awesome.
know now that early brain development is a precursor to your whole life, actually. Everything that happens to you throughout your life is impacted by your early development. And probably there are, lots of different things that are important for the developing brain in terms of nutrition and, just health things. But in terms of cognitive, situations, the number one most important thing that we know very definitively is that the more words a young child hears in their early development, the better their brains are going to develop, the smarter they're going to be as they get older. So just talking to your child, having a conversation, and involving them in that dialogue is the most important thing that you can do. So, just having that communication, that interaction, putting the child in situations where they're engaged socially, those are probably the most important things for early development.
Wow. So reading to your child, that's
Yes.
huge as well.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yep.
Good.
Exactly.
Good tips. Well, what are the signs that you're seeing? I mean, what is the success rate that you're having at Lumosity?
Yeah, we do a lot of different things to measure the performance of our products, and probably the most important of those is the scientific research that we engage with our scientific collaborators. We have 43 different projects going on at universities all over the place. We have researchers in Texas, we have researchers in California, New York, who are all doing research into the efficacy of cognitive training in different populations. So, we have people who are publishing on the effects of things like cognitive training for people who are surviving cancers, people who are have different developmental issues, who have aging issues, and what we're also seeing that actually cognitive training is great for people who are just your average, everyday, normal, healthy person. That they're benefiting in terms of making their lives more efficient and more effective.
Fantastic. Well, keep up the good work is all I have to say. And I wish I had more time to talk to you about this. It's been a fascinating topic and just a pleasure speaking with you, Dr. Hardy. So,
well, thank you so much for having me.
Yes, you're welcome. Having a healthy brain truly does affect our performance and our productivity and our confidence. So making a conscious effort to train your brain can change your life. Check out Lumosity.com for yourself. It's got a lot of cool information about the brain, some cool games and puzzles. And thank you once again, Dr. Hardy, for joining us this evening, sharing your expertise. We'll let you get back to the conference. And good luck with that guitar.
All right,
Maybe
thank you.
you'll cut a record one of these days.
All right, that'd be great. That'd be great.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And Scott, do you have allergies?
Not really. My daughter does. My daughter
really?
does. Yes. So and my son has had some. I remember as a kid he couldn't mow the grass, and I thought he was just comping on me because he didn't want to mow the grass. But it turns out that he had some real bad grass allergies. So yes, but I've been very fortunate. Have not been affected by that.
Wow. Well, you know what? I think if you live here in Texas, it's bound to happen sooner or later. That's what I was told when I lived here. But we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to hear about the latest holistic miracle remedy from Europe that's aimed to heal allergies, asthma, and other respiratory conditions, and it's right here in North Texas. So stay tuned. I'm Angel Carlton with Scott Murray. We'll be right back on 570 KLIF.
Ever wonder how some people look like they just popped out of the latest fashion magazine? Always dressed impeccably, clean as they come? Well, guess what? You can have that same look. Simply stop by Lombardo's Custom Apparel. They've been dressing most of your favorite athletes, well-known entertainers, media personalities, and Super Bowl champions for years. But you don't have to be a superstar to visit Lombardo's. The majority of their business is folks just like you and me. Successful businessmen. Lombardo's uses only the finest materials and design techniques in the clothing industry. There's not a finer place in town to get the custom suit of your choice. Trust me, Jay has been a friend of mine for over 20 years. He's outfitted me with everything from shirts to pants, suits to tuxedos. And whether it's Jay or a member of his knowledgeable team, you're made to feel that you're the most important person on the face of the earth every time you walk in. Always courteous, committed, and value-oriented. Stop by or give them a call at 214-265-8488. Even go online at lombardocustomapparel.com.
The SMU Tate Lecture Series 32nd season continues, featuring one of the top business thinkers in the world, Sir Ken Robinson. The sold-out lecture will be held on Tuesday, November 19th in SMU's McFarland Auditorium at 8 p.m. For more information, visit smu.edu/Tate. Produced by SMU, presented by the Dallas Morning News. Sponsored in part by 570 KLIF News and Information, WFAA TV Channel 8, Rosewood Mansion on Turtle Creek, and Turner Construction.
When it comes to your health, there are 3 numbers every man should know: cholesterol, prostate, and your testosterone level. How about it? Do you know yours? You should. Simply visit the Low T Center to get them. You walk in, take a simple blood test, and you know your results within 30 minutes. If you're a man over 40 and have noticed a decline in energy, stamina, or libido, you may have low testosterone. It's estimated that 13 million men in the U.S. have low T. Call the Low T Center today to have your levels checked. Low T makes you feel tired and grumpy. It increases your risk for heart attacks, Alzheimer's, and osteoporosis. Their experienced medical staff will educate you on the benefits and the risks of testosterone replacement. Low T Center has 8 DFW locations, and now a 9th is open in Fort Worth at Alliance. Services are covered by most health insurance companies, and it takes minutes for results. So if you're tired of being tired, get your levels checked today. Call 817-562-5698, 817-562-LOW-T, or visit online at lowtcenter.com.
It's more of the Scott Murray Show. You have the power to join the conversation by calling 888-787-KLIF. Now, here's Scott.
Welcome back to the Scott Murray Show. I'm Angel Carlton. And the current time is 7:37. Welcome back. So, Scott, what did you think of our last segment?
Well, I thought it was super. I really am fascinated by guys that talk about the brain because, I mean, if there's one organ in our body that is responsible for just about every other organ in our body, it's our brain. They tell us when we're hungry and when we're not hungry, and when we want to lift our arm and when we want to salute somebody and when we want to listen or see or do anything. All our senses are controlled by our brain. So it was most fascinating. He seemed to be really on top of things, and he's in a pretty good place, too. San Diego's not bad this time of year. Look out at the water and what have you. But I thought he had some great things to say, and I'm going to certainly look his website up.
Good. I encourage you to. Well,
what do you got next?
Our next guest is a gentleman named Jim Rizzuto. Jim has been an IT manager for his whole career. Here's somebody who never thought he would be a business owner. He relocated from New York to Texas back in 2001, working for a financial company. And he's always had a soft spot for people with asthma and people who have difficulty breathing. And his mom, in memory of his mom, who struggled from horrific asthma her whole life, as well as his daughter, who suffered since she was 3 years old. She's now 23 years old. But through his research, he found a miraculous healing taking place out in Israel in these salt caves. And this is what inspired him to open a salt therapy center called Salt Escape. It's a medicine-free salt therapy wellness center in Plano, Texas. This happens to be the very first salt cave, I call it a cave, in Texas. Let's say hello to Jim. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Well, you're welcome. You know, I'm seeing a lot about this salt therapy. It's just gaining popularity and getting ads on Groupon and magazines and so forth. So I'm curious to know, as I'm sure our listeners are, what exactly is salt therapy?
When I first looked at this, I really was making a double take. I found it by accident on the internet. You know, you can research anything. And I noticed these salt caves that they had in Europe. And they were using this for upper respiratory sufferers. So I did some research, and lo and behold, one opened up in your hometown, Chicago. And I spoke with the guy, and he opened it up in a Polish neighborhood. And he said, well, you don't have to teach Europeans what salt therapy is all about. So he had a line around the block.
Brilliant.
Absolutely. So I did more research and found out that there were a lot of European studies conducted on the people who work in the salt mines. Mysteriously, they don't have asthma, allergies, sinus problems. And why is that? Common denominator is salt, a salt-rich environment. You know, if you've ever taken a cruise and you're out in the middle of the ocean, you breathe great, you feel terrific. You get back to port, you feel terrible again. So, well, we're getting back to port because you've got all the allergens and the pollutants and everything else that really bothers you all year round.
Yeah, the pollution. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. So these salt caves, when I looked at them, I was fascinated, and I said, why don't we have this here in America? So that prompted me on my journey to open up a salt room here in Plano, Texas.
Oh, fantastic. So can you explain what it does? I mean, how does it work?
Sure. So we have 2 rooms, one for adults and one for children. They're completely made of salt. So you've got a lot of negative ions going on in that room. We also have a machine called a salt generator. It's taking salt, crushing it into very fine particulates, 3 to 5 micron particles. It's being broadcast in the air as a dry aerosol. Now, 45 minutes in this room, you will breathe the same amount of salt that you would if you were out in the middle of the ocean for 3 days.
Wow.
So that high concentration of salt is what's really doing the trick. In the adult room, you're going to sit in a zero-gravity chair. You're going to relax. There's spa music behind you. There's a beautiful big screen TV with an underwater thing with turtles and everything. And I dare you to try to stay awake. Everyone falls asleep in that room. It is so tranquil. It is so sterile. And just the sound of the machine and the music in the background, it just lulls you off to sleep. Gosh. Alternately, in the kids' room, it's like they're being at the beach. We have like 6 inches of salt on the ground. They're playing with toys. They can color. They're watching movies on Netflix. They're having a wonderful time in there. Anything to occupy their time for that 45 minutes, they don't even realize they're getting a treatment, but they are.
Yeah, because they're having fun.
Exactly.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, that sounds like a great way. I'd like to spend 45 minutes. And it sounds real meditative where, you can just escape the world for 45 minutes. And that within itself is healing. And then you're getting the physical benefits on top of it all.
Absolutely.
Yeah, sign me up.
Salt, a lot of people don't realize, they criticize salt when you're eating it.
Right.
We're not eating it here, we're breathing it. So it's a completely different thing. Salt, believe it or not, has anti-inflammatory properties. So when you breathe in this salt, it's going to open up your passageways, right? So the particulates are going to stick to the mucus, act as a natural expectorant to get the yuck out, which is exactly what you want to do. Whether it's your sinus cavities or your lungs or your bronchial tubes, you want to get that yuck out.
Right.
Right? And we all know that nothing can grow bacteria-wise on salt. So that hence the very, very sterile room, and it's going to disinfect as you're breathing it in. You'll taste it on your lips. If you shine a flashlight, you'll see like you were in an attic and you whack the pillow and you see dust all over the room. It's all salt.
Interesting. So where does the salt come from? And what kind of salt is it?
Well, you can use native salt, but I prefer to use salt directly from Israel, Dead Sea salt.
Wow.
It has all the minerals in it that they strip out before it gets to your dinner table.
Wow. So it's sea salt.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's got all chock full of all the minerals. I think it's probably has even more mineral content than Himalayan salt, which you'll know the Himalayan because it's pink. This is white.
Yeah, fantastic. Wow, that is so interesting. So interesting. Scott, don't you find it amazing that our planet actually provides all these healing elements for us humans?
Somebody told me a long time ago, those things are right here.
Yeah.
They've been here since since the Earth was created or founded or however it got here initially. If you're spiritual, you know the good Lord did some wonderful things umpteen thousands and thousands of years ago and kind of prepared us for all these things. And that's why I'm such a nut about not eating foods that have chemicals and what have you in them. That's not the way, as they say, the good Lord meant it to be. Whether you're Christian or not Christian or Jewish or whatever your faith might be, my point is that's not the way it's supposed to be. So we love medical science and all the new things that we can learn from that standpoint. But when it comes to doing things that are kind of against what you're talking about, then you say, wait a minute, this can't be right. So I'm fascinated by this and not surprised at all by it. Right. It's the natural way it was meant to be when the Earth came about a trillion years ago or whatever it was.
It's probably one of the oldest medicines since the beginning of time.
Yep.
And we've gotten to where we're manufacturing medicine to be more of a remedy, just like the natural stuff is.
Very true.
And it's got all these negative side effects. So, well, if you're planning a trip to Israel or Jordan to swim in the Dead Sea for the healing powers, you can cancel that trip because you can get the same experience right here in Plano, Texas. And when we come back from our short break, we're going to hear more about how salt therapy helps people improve the quality of their lives, especially those suffering from allergies and asthma and other respiratory conditions. So stay tuned. We'll be right back on 570 KLIF.
Picture this: an art gallery, a creative studio, and an event venue all in one. You'll find all three together at Elm Street Studio, your home away from home for all of life's special moments. Elm Street Studio is a unique boutique concept in a renovated 75-year-old home located in Old Town Keller. From painting, drawing, printmaking, fibers, lost arts to crafts, it's your chance to nurture your creative endeavors. And for those of you who might need a quaint venue for a party or a special event, then look no further than Elm Street Studio. Proven to be the perfect setting for intimate weddings, receptions, bridal and birthday parties for both young and old alike. Not to mention a fun place to socialize and gather with girlfriends, book clubs, neighborhood groups, or simply family and friends. If you'd like to learn more, visit their website, elmstudio.co. That's elmstudio.co. Or give them a call at 817-562-2323. Elm Street Studio, your home away from home for all of life's special moments.
As a special thank you to all of you veterans for your service, Choctaw Casino is serving you. Veterans, please enjoy a free Butterfield's Buffet lunch this Veterans Day, courtesy of Choctaw Casino. More info at ChoctawCasinos.com.
Do you live with stress? If you have nervousness or common everyday anxiety, we're looking for you. Because right now we're sending risk-free supplies of a fast-acting supplement to listeners of this station. You heard right. Every listener who calls right now will learn how to get a risk-free bottle of Stress Block, a naturally derived formula that promotes feelings of calmness, focus, and well-being in a great-tasting chewable. Supplies for this risk-free offer are limited, so don't wait. Just call 1-800-489-1373. Stress Block is a fast-acting, non-prescription formula to support relaxation without causing drowsiness. Your nervousness is guaranteed to begin fading like magic in no time. This special risk-free offer is for listeners of this station, but it won't last. Call us now for this exclusive Stress Block risk-free offer. Just call 1-800-489-1373. That's 1-800-489-1373. Call 1-800-489-1373.
It's time to get back to the Scott Murray Show. Join the conversation with Scott as we wrap up the hour by calling 888-787-KLIF.
Welcome back to the program. I'm Angel Carlton along with Scott Murray. Tonight our guest, Jim Rizzuto, founder of Salt Escape Wellness Center in Plano, Texas, is explaining what salt therapy is all about. This is interesting stuff, isn't it, Scott?
Oh, it really is. It really is. What I wanted to ask him, you said he was from New York. You're not related to Phil Rizzuto, are you?
Actually, I am.
Oh, I knew that was coming. I knew
sorry.
that was coming. No, that's all right, because as a kid, Mickey Mantle was my guy. He was from Oklahoma, but Mickey Mantle with the Yankees was my guy. Always wore number 7 in Little League and what have you. So
number 10
my point is
Phil
Rizzuto was the shortstop on that team.
That's right.
So very interesting. Okay, now let's get back to the salt stories and the salt mines. And
you just got to talk sports, don't you?
gotta get
it's
it
in his
there.
blood, I think. So, Jim, tell us, what type of success stories have you seen
Oh, we have loads of testimonials on our Facebook page. If anyone who wants to go out to our Salt Escape Facebook page, please do like it and read the testimonials. I mean, we have so many people that have come in and just they cannot believe how they feel. You know, especially like COPD sufferers. We have people coming in with oxygen tanks.
Wow.
They're living on oxygen all day, taking albuterol, nebulizers, and their oxygen their breathing capacity is getting better. We have one person who went to, you go to your doctor every 6 months or 3 months or whatever it is, and they measure your lung capacity.
Mm-hmm.
And usually it's not getting better, it's on the decline. And for this one patient, went to the doctor and he had to actually take a double take. He thought his machine was out of calibration. She had a 21% increase in lung capacity. And he asked, what are you doing? Oh, well, we're going to this soul therapy place in Plano.
Wow.
And, that prompted him to call us up and find out what we were all about. And now doctors are actually prescribing it. And we found out that if you work in a company that has one of those flexible benefit plans,
Mm-hmm.
you can use that to pay for soul therapy as long as your doctor actually puts it on the prescription.
Wow, that's wonderful. It's about time we're collaborating, isn't it?
Yes. I mean, unfortunately, medical benefits don't pay for it here. It does in Canada, so it's soon to follow here.
Right.
And we have people coming as far as Oklahoma. We have a cystic fibrosis, a little young boy, 3 years old. Horrible way of breathing with cystic fibrosis, and he's been coming down for about 7 weeks, and he is actually feeling much better. He can sleep. He's not gasping and snoring at night, so he is getting that experience. We have a 13-year-old girl who she has like a cystic fibrosis in her nasal passages. Very rare condition. She went for surgeries twice. She went through all kinds of medications and therapies, and the doctors finally told her, you're going to have to live with it because there's really nothing we can do.
Oh.
Out of desperation, I mean, this child, as far as this child was concerned, life was over, right? She wasn't sleeping. She wasn't going to school. Her life was hell.
Wow.
And her mother found out about us through a friend, brought her down, kicking and screaming. The kid didn't want any more. She, said, no more. I don't want any more. She came in. She walked out of that session, and she looked at her mother and said, Mom, I can breathe.
Wow.
It wasn't perfect, of course, but she actually was able to get air in her nostrils. And she's been coming ever since. This young girl has blossomed. She's got a new lease on life. She's back in school. She's learning bass guitar. She's in a band. She's living her life.
Wow.
And these are the kind of stories that make it all worth it. To own a small business nowadays, it's not easy. But when I see things like this and I'm actually able to help people, it makes it all worth it.
Yeah, you're making a difference. That's really huge.
Yeah.
And it'll pay off. It will definitely pay off. What inspiring stories. I mean, people who breathe well,
yes,
take it for granted.
Yeah.
It's like, we're just breathing.
We have a young man who joined the football team. And unfortunately, because of his asthma, he couldn't play. So he was always on the sidelines. His father heard about us, brought him down. After a couple of sessions, lo and behold, this kid is playing football.
And having the time of his life.
Having fun.
That's what kids are supposed to be doing.
He's running around and keeping up with the other guys. I mean, it's horrible when you can't breathe. It has to be the scariest feeling on the earth when you can't take a breath. And even for children, children are going to school. What do they give them? They give them Singular, albuterol, all these things that would give a normal person a massive anxiety attack, right? It just jags you up. How can you expect that child to concentrate on his schoolwork, right? Similarly, if they have allergies, they're giving them antihistamines. What does that do? Put you to sleep. It's hard enough to stay stay awake in school, let alone you're taking drugs which have side effects, right? That's what the salt therapy is. What's so great about it is it's all natural. There are no side effects. The only side effect it has is it's going to make you feel better.
Right. So how often are people coming in? And I mean, do they do a monthly program?
It depends on what they have. I mean, I'm a firm believer in letting people diagnose themselves, right?
Oh, awesome.
So if you have seasonal allergies and it only bothers you 3 weeks out of the year, well, come in just before you would normally be bothered, right? Do a couple of sessions for maybe a week or two. See you next year. Now, for people with COPD or cystic fibrosis or some conditions that are all year round, well, then you're going to have to come in more often. If you want the benefits without the drugs, this is the way you will have to do it. And depending on, you might double up and get a couple of sessions in the first week, couple of sessions the second week, and then judge for yourself. You might need maybe once a week thereafter, or once every 2 weeks as a maintenance, just to keep your passageways open. So it's really up to you. And we have so many different plans. Of course, you can have the a la carte. We have 5-pack, we have 10-packs, we have a monthly pass, a 3-month pass, 6-month pass, and a yearly pass.
Okay.
I mean, for someone who's got to come around all year round, $99 a month, and you can come every day.
Well, you can't put a price on being able to breathe.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, that's invaluable.
Yeah.
And I love how you're giving the power back to the people who are not really solely depending on somebody else to tell them what their body is doing and what their body needs. So I think we innately know what heals our bodies.
Yes.
And I'm sure that's the experience that people are getting when we're walking in there. And at least that's what it sounds like. I'm dying to try it. I really am.
You have to try it.
I'm going to.
Yeah.
I'm going to.
Even skin conditions, psoriasis. And we have pictures on our site that show this little girl with eczema or psoriasis all over her entire arm. And after a couple of sessions, it just narrowed down to a very small spot. Even skin conditions, it is helping.
That's great. Well, tell people how they can find you. Share that website with us, please.
Okay, so it is saltescape.com, and we are on 2100 Dallas Parkway in Plano, Texas, Suite 140.
Okay.
And we actually have an open house coming up Friday, December 6th. So if people want to sign up, come in for the open house, they can take a tour and check it out for themselves.
Saltescape.com. Well, people must be benefiting from salt therapy because the word is getting out about this rapidly growing trend. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Scott, this is kind of like yoga or chiropractic care several years ago. It's going to take a little while for people to catch on.
Well, people talk about fads. Say, oh, that's just a fad. That's just a fad. It'll pass. But things like this that have such credence and they're pretty basic. But again, you go way back into time and you see some of the people that were around long before we were, and they were using things like this, and it worked. You say, okay, medical science is wonderful, and I'm a great believer in medical science, but give it a shot.
Yeah, give it a shot. Well, thank you. Thank our listeners for joining us this evening. Hope you gained some insight, maybe a message for you or someone you know needed to hear, something to help you navigate your journey from nowhere to knowing. I'm Angel Carlton. Live, love, and learn. See you next time at 570 KLIF. Good night.
Hey, let's face it, we have become a video world. From email to YouTube to live streaming presentations. How about you? Ever find yourself in the need for audio or maybe video services? Maybe staging for a live production or special event? Whether it's indoors or out, large or small, audio or video, Murray Media can get the job done. Professionally, efficiently, competitively. From creation to conclusion, the Emmy Award-winning team at Murray Media is prepared and poised to video your world. From corporate and industrial videos to nonprofit videos and special events, even those with well-known celebrities, television programs, TV commercials, website videos for both professional and personal use. Simply visit our website, murraymedia.net. Again, that's murraymedia.net. We look forward to talking with you at Murray Media, always poised to video your world.
KLIF.
Ever wonder how some people look like they just popped out of the latest fashion magazine? Always dressed impeccably, clean as they come? Well, guess what? You can have that same look. Simply stop by Lombardo's Custom Apparel. They've been dressing most of your favorite athletes, well-known entertainers, media personalities, and Super Bowl champions for years. But you don't have to be a superstar to visit Lombardo's. The majority of their business is folks just like you and me. Successful businessmen. Lombardo's uses only the finest materials and design techniques in the clothing industry. There's not a finer place in town to get the custom suit of your choice. Trust me, Jay has been a friend of mine for over 20 years. He's outfitted me with everything from shirts to pants, suits to tuxedos. customers. And whether it's Jay or a member of his knowledgeable team, you're made to feel that you're the most important person on the face of the earth every time you walk in. Always courteous, committed, and value-oriented. Stop by or give them a call at 214-265-8488. Even go online at LombardoCustomApparel.com.
News and information 570 AM.
96.3 FM HD2. KLIF Dallas. KSCS FM HD2 Fort Worth. KLIF.com.
A Cumulus station.